I do want to ask a question that has to do with renewable power. You know, our island has the highest renewable power in the whole state at about 50%. Geothermal power, which is a firm source of power, not variable like sun and wind, provides around half the island's renewable power. Actually, that's about half. Some have expressed concerns about geothermal, and that happens to be a plant that lies in your area. What concerns, if any, do you two have? Ms. Green, I'd like to start with you.
My only concern is really safety issues. I think more monitoring systems so that they could monitor the emissions that's coming out. But really, it's the safety and health concerns that concerned me.
And do you think those are being addressed, or do you think the county council should do something more to address that in conjunction with both HELCO and Puna Geothermal?
I think both. I've spoken to Mike Kalekini and other people, and they said there are some monitoring systems out there in the community besides being in the plant, on the ground and up in the air. So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. O'Hara, would you like to comment?
Yes, we continue to have some problems, as you've all noted in the news in the last week or two. We had emergency releases from the plant, and again today there was another emergency release. And I am hearing from...
Was there an emergency release today, or was there a test today?
No, there was a test today.
Okay,
You're
so
right.
there was not
I'm
an
sorry.
emergency release
It was not
today.
an emergency
Okay.
release. It was a test with nitrogen. And so nearby residents would probably hear the sound of escaping gas and be concerned. And so to me it's twofold. Not only do we need better off-site and on-site monitoring, we also need better communication between the immediate community and the geothermal plant. For some reason, this has broken down in many periods of time. I mean, the plant has been there since early 90s. And so we've had a lot of breakdowns in the communication, which has caused an aura of distrust about what's going on at the plant. And I'd like to rebuild that trust and make sure that we have the most up-to-date and current monitoring systems and make that data available, real-time available, to the immediate, to the residents that are affected by it. I also would like to continue to pursue creating an after-the-fact buffer zone. When the plant was permitted, that was not a consideration, yet we've had a lot of residential development very close to the plant. And this has also made it problematic for operations, for the plant's operations itself. As we buy back properties, I'm not sure that they should be resold into the market. I think perhaps it's best to try and maintain a buffer zone through purchase of properties that people want to relinquish because of their health and environmental concerns about what's happening at the plant. So those are some of the things that I would like to see perhaps corrected as we move forward. It is a firm power, as you pointed out, and other renewables alone cannot fulfill that. So it's not that I'm totally against geothermal, but it has to be done properly. And it has to be done in an area that does not negatively impact human and environmental health. Thank you.
Ms. Green, do you want to say anything more about Puna Geothermal?
No, not
Okay, thank you. It's not specifically in your district, but Ms. Leloy, do you have any comments or thoughts? Any concerns about geothermal? And if you do have concerns, why do you have them and what solutions would you offer?
So again, another complex situation. Like you mentioned, it is a solid power, renewable energy source. I do think a few years ago when we were looking at the lava cutting off that area, that would have been that power source for Lower Puna. And anything we do going forward when we're looking at renewable energy, I do think has to be a multi-pronged approach. partly because we live on an island and we have all types of natural disasters, whether it's hurricanes, tsunamis, or a lava flow. And that would be the best way or the most comprehensive way for us to reach our renewable energy goals by 2030, which is what the state has set out for us. So in addition to geothermal, I'd like to look at, and something we've done with the water department, which is wind to help power our pumps so that we're moving away from those fuels to pump our water pumps, solar, and even wave energy. We have a number of opportunities out there.
So you're suggesting moving away from geothermal?
No, not at all. Just
Okay.
keeping all of it on the table. I think one thing that's very dear to me is I live in a Hawaiian Homes community, and in Council District 3 we have 2. And we're trying to move to self-sufficiency ourselves as a homestead. And one thing that happened for us as a community was the Attorney General's office opined that if the Department of Hawaiian Homelands were to use or explore the option of geothermal, that mineral right and the revenues generated from that mineral right would go back to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. And that's huge. That's huge for the department to become self-sufficient. And so I'm really not interested at looking at legislation that would begin to handcuff our Native Hawaiian community. And we need all of those options on the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kali'i, any comments on geothermal? Any concerns you have, any solutions you'd offer if you do have concerns?
Okay, well, we all know that, you know, geothermal has been a controversial issue. But there are also, you know, comprehensive studies being made on how we are able to be successful with using geothermal energy. There's countries like Switzerland who are 100% geothermal. So I believe that more studies need to be done to be able to educate people. I know, you know, like Maddie had mentioned, a lot of it has to do with health concerns, you know. I'm sorry, Eileen did. You know, and then of course, in addition to that, I mean, we live on an island with the most bountiful natural resources. You mentioned wind, we have solar, sun, hydro pump storage, we have Makani kite. There's so many alternatives that we are able to, they're at our fingertips. So, you know, we just got to be able to do a little bit more comprehensive studies on the use of geothermal, as well as biomass chipping, because that's another alternative that people find to be very controversial.